Welcome to ILTV Security Brief. I'm Caleb Ben David. Each week, we focus on the latest developments in security and defense relating to Israel and the Middle East, impacting on this region and beyond. And we start with our top items of the past week. After 600 days of war, Israeli forces advance in Gaza as Operation Gideon's Chariot aims to gain complete control over the Strip within 2 months and pressure Hamas to release the hostages after the terror group rejects the latest U.S. deal proposal. Palestinians say casualties are on the rise and now top 53,000 since October 7th. A new operation to distribute aid gets underway in Gaza, with U.S. contractors working with the IDF to provide food and medicine to residents while keeping it out of the hands of Hamas. The UN and humanitarian groups criticize the initiative as inadequate and lacking neutrality. Israeli Air Force jets bombed Sana'a airport in Yemen for the second time in a month, in retaliation for repeated attempted missile attacks by the Houthis against Ben Gurion Airport. While all are down by air defense systems, several airlines continue to halt their flights to Ben Gurion Airport, citing security risks. President Trump confirms he told Prime Minister Netanyahu not to attack Iran amid ongoing negotiations for a new nuclear deal, saying he wants to give diplomacy a chance before any military action. This follows media reports that Israel is pressing the U.S. to carry out an imminent strike on Iran's atomic facilities. Prime Minister Netanyahu picks Major General David Zinni as the new head of the Shin Bet Internal Security Agency. Attorney General Gali Baharav Meira calls the appointment invalid and unlawful, saying he must recuse himself from the selection process due to the Qatar Gate probe. U.S. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem pays a solidarity visit to Israel following the deadly attack that killed 2 staffers at the Israeli embassy in Washington, attending a memorial service in Jerusalem for Yaron Lashinsky and Sarah Milgram. And now our big story. As Israel marked 600 days of war against Hamas since the October 7th attack, the IDF and security establishment finds itself dealing with unprecedented challenges, not only on the Gaza battlefield, but across multi-fronts. Along with carrying out Operation Gideon's Chariot in Gaza and providing security for a new aid distribution system there, the IDF is defending against Houthi attacks and bombing Yemen, striking terror targets in Lebanon, holding talks with Syria's new regime, taking the offensive against terror groups in Judea and Samaria, and above all of this, contending with the Iranian threats. So what are the IDF strategies to handle all of this? And does it even have the capabilities to meet these challenges over an extended period? Well, joining us to answer these questions is Reserves IDF Colonel Olivier Rafowicz, an IDF spokesperson for international media. Olivier, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks to having me on your studio.
Let's start. In Gaza, 600 days of war. How is Operation Gideon's Chariots progressing? And a question that people are asking, what's the end game here in Gaza?
First of all, after 600 days, war is not over. The time now we're speaking together, we have still 58 hostages in the Hamas tunnels. Hamas remain a threat for Israel. We have a lot of forces within the Gaza Strip. Hamas is still threatening security of Israel in the Gaza Strip and also, of course, along the border against our communities. So until the goals are not achieved, release of all the hostages and dismantling the military capabilities of Hamas and making that Hamas is not and will be never again a threat for Israel, war is not over. That's the mission, the goal of this situation. For now, we are continuing to fight in the Gaza Strip, but we fight in maybe another way. We are striking very precisely, according to very precise and accurate intelligence, Hamas and Islamic Jihad targets on the ground and underground. For example, during the last week, we have destroyed many underground facilities, mostly in the center and the south part of the Gaza Strip. Our units are doing an incredible job. And as you know, the Israeli government has approved during the week the possibility to call up 450,000 new reservists in case that we will need for it, because, I repeat, war is not over.
Right, war is not over, but even as we speak, there is talk of a possible new hostage deal. Now, that, of course, that decision rests with the political establishment, but it would potentially involve a ceasefire. There's talk of 60 days, maybe extending before that. Let me ask you how that would impact on the IDF's operational capabilities in Gaza if it has to take this potentially break and then, for example, go back to the battlefield.
You know, the goal of the IDF and the main goal of the IDF operations right now in the Gaza Strip is to provide, I would say, a spectrum of possibilities to the political echelon to decide and to go where they want to go according to the Israeli interest. But our goal is to make that we do what we have to do on a military strict point of view, but because we are doing so strong pressure on Hamas right now, it opens maybe new possibilities, new perspectives for next step of the war. At the end of the day, Hamas should be dismantled, hostages back to Israel, and then the government of Israel will decide what will be the day after.
All right. Now, of course, part of the what's happening in Gaza now is this new system for distributing humanitarian aid to keep it out of the hands of Hamas. IDF is providing security. It's really U.S. contractors handling it. Mixed reports about how that is going in its first days. What can you tell us about what's happening there?
You are touching maybe the most important element right now in the last months of this war against Hamas. For months, and people did not know it really, Hamas was using the humanitarian assistance as, I would say, a balloon of oxygen to get from this assistance money. We say that because they sold this assistance to the population of Gaza, they received around $500 million. $500 million from selling this assistance to the population, but also it was the main tool to control the Gaza Strip and the population of Gaza. Right now, the Israeli government, the Israeli army, with an American NGO and the American government, of course, support, has installed and has set up a new process of distribution, disconnected totally from the possibility that Hamas will actually take this assistance and use it like it was the case before. So we see right now that because of that, even more that from the military pressure, because of that, Hamas is under pressure.
Right, we see them trying to even sort of disrupt this new system.
Not only to disrupt, they are also capable to kill Palestinian people, civilian people who are just coming to get this assistance, but because they get to this place, they are accused by Hamas, of course, on false affirmations, being collaborators to Israel. So yesterday, for example, there was a case where 5 Palestinians were killed just because they came to a place where Hamas has put some flour on the...
Right, it's hoarding food
exactly.
for themselves.
But particularly 2 days ago, happened something very interesting, if I may, I would like to talk about. 2 days ago, there was one of the first days of this new process of distribution of food. And as you know, many UN agencies don't like it. It's a big surprise because they don't like the process. They should be very happy that at the end of the day, does not matter what is the process, food is coming to the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip, but they don't like the process because Israel is in charge with the American and Hamas is disconnected. So they are trying to find ways not only to criticize, but maybe to prevent this process to be now alive on the ground. So what happened? Yesterday morning, there was a communique from Geneva, from one of the very serious main UN agencies, claiming that the Israeli soldiers have wounded 47 Palestinians in this same compound of food distribution. I took this information, I checked it carefully, nothing happened. The Israeli was actually around, far away from the center itself, and we didn't shoot any bullets, of course, toward people just coming to receive this food. So we were asking why the UN agencies are so keen to disrupt and to prevent Israel, because they want to continue, maybe they want Hamas to continue to be part of the process. I'm very serious when I'm saying
right,
so.
I understand.
And it's a very severe situation. Israel will continue to enlarge, to enhance the process of food distribution by this process. Again, I repeat, putting Hamas totally aside. We don't want Hamas anymore to be part of the process of food distribution.
All right. I want to move from the Gaza front, as I said, Israel on a multi-front war. One of those fronts is the Houthis, who continue to fire rockets at Israel, which are all intercepted. Israel is retaliating.
Not all of them.
Not all of them, but most of them are intercepted. But they are disrupting Israeli life. They're causing airlines to cancel flights here. Does the IDF have an answer for these Houthi attacks?
As you know, the Houthis have launched more than 40 ballistic missiles since the end of the ceasefire. And as you know, there was a hit on the Ben Gurion airport, close to it, and of course it changed very seriously the situation concerning the airplane companies. We are striking back. Like yesterday, we struck very precisely on the airport in Sana'a, but we see that the Houthis are not alone. They are fully connected to Iran.
Yes.
And our government is very clear. We see this Iranian Houthis connection as part of the problem, and as you know, generally, Israel is talking, but not too much in these matters.
Right, I understand that. I do have to ask you, though, President Trump confirming that he did ask Israel not to strike Iran's nuclear facilities during the ongoing negotiations on that program. There have been reports of Israel preparing a strike. I know you can't address diplomatic or political matters, Olivier, but the question is the IDF ready, if the need be, if negotiations fail, to take the fight against Iran at its nuclear facilities, even if the IDF might have to act alone in this case?
You know, Iran has supported Hezbollah for years. Hamas, Houthis right now, they are still claiming in the street of Tehran that they want the end of the state of Israel, the Jewish state. They even don't pronounce the name Israel. They pronounce the name Zionist entity in the base,
or the little devil.
In the base case. We say, and we are saying, and we repeat again, we will never accept Iran to be nuclear. Besides that, our government is in charge of the situation.
All right. Another, of course, a proxy of Iran is Hezbollah. There is a ceasefire, but we do see the IDF continue to attack strikes in targets in Lebanon, as it just did in the last few days. What is the situation there in the north? Is it quiet, or is this just an interim period?
It is a very interesting situation, and I'm very happy that you are asking this question. We are now 6 months after the ceasefire with Lebanon. This ceasefire is also, I would say, accompanied by a French-American ceasefire mechanism to monitor and to follow it. Very important, by the way. And we see also that the Lebanese army is moving on to dismantle and to dismantle the Hezbollah capabilities in the south.
And there's progress there, or not?
There is some progress, but progress doesn't mean that it's over. So we have, as you know, we have 5 points in Lebanese territory in the south to protect our border, because we will never accept again what happened before the 8th of October 2023. So right now, when we see a major threat or minor threat coming to the south, we strike. We strike and we eliminate the threat. During and meanwhile, there is this ceasefire, which is very important for us. As you know, our goal is also to have all the people who have been displaced to get back to their homes, to come back to live a normal life along the border. For now, it looks good, much better, but we are not, at the end of the day, still Hezbollah is a problem, until Iran is supporting Hezbollah, until all these proxies together with their major supporter are claiming that they want to destroy Israel. We have to be very cautious, and we are doing what we are doing according to the ceasefire spirit. The ceasefire spirit doesn't mean that we forget our security interest.
Right. Now, there was a time not too long ago when the Lebanon and Syria fronts were basically one combined front. Very different now. They're two very different fronts. Of course, reports that the Israeli government is having quiet contacts with the Syrian government, but even reports that the IDF is in conversation with elements on the ground in Syria. I don't know how much you could talk about that, but what can you tell us about what is a very quickly changing situation there on the Syrian-Israel border?
I just can tell you that this war imposed by Hamas on Hezbollah has produced right now some changes. In the Middle East, change can occur, but can also change. The change can change, if I may. So we have to be very cautious. We follow the situation. We are not leaving the border. We are monitoring the border. We are following what's going on. We have our security apparatus along the border. And I repeat, we will never get back to the situation previous 8th of October in the north, where the threat was along the border, threatening our population. And you saw what happened. They attacked us. We had to displace almost 80,000 people for more than a year. They have attacked our communities, our villages, like Mitula, for example.
Yes.
Half of the houses has been attacked and hit. All that will never be repeated. So we see the changes going on. We are appreciating some changes, but we rely only on ourselves.
All right. Well, that certainly has been the coda of the IDF and the Israeli government in all these years. Colonel Rafowicz, I'm going to ask you to stay with us because I do want to touch on a very important development that just broke this week on the battlefield. The Israel's Defense Ministry has revealed that for the first time in the history of warfare, a new laser-based air defense system was used to intercept incoming aerial threats. In fact, they released actual footage of the device being used in combat. Using a prototype laser system, soldiers of the Israeli Air Force Aerial Defense Array successfully intercepted dozens of Hezbollah military drones launched at Israel over the course of the war in the north. Now, this laser system was developed by Rafael Advanced Defense Systems, working with the Defense Ministry's Director of Defense Research and Development, and will eventually be deployed together with the even more powerful Iron Beam system, which is expected to be delivered to the IDF later this year. Here's what some of those who are involved in this breakthrough had to say.
פרסנו זמן קצר לאחר תחילת הלחימה מספר מערכות לייזר שיעזרו ליירט איומי אויב. ביצענו למעלה מ-40 יירוטים מבצעיים אמיתיים במהלך הלחימה. כל זה כמובן בוצע על סמך השקעה של שנים ארוכות שאנחנו משקיעים במפת. חזינו את הנולד בתחום הלייזר, השקענו בהרבה טכנולוגיות במקביל עד להבשלה בזמן הנכון, בעיתוי הנכון. אנחנו כמובן ממשיכים לעבוד על פיתוח לייזר רב עוצמה ומסירתו לצה"ל בעת הקרובה. זה מצטרף למערך ההגנה הרב שכבתי, חץ 3, חץ 2, קלע דוד וכיפת ברזל ועוד יכולות חסימה וניטרול נוספות שהפעלנו במהלך המלחמה. מדינת ישראל מוכיחה שהיא לא בחזית הידע הטכנולוגי בעולם, היא מציבה את חזית הידע הטכנולוגי בעולם, מהמובילים בעולם בתחום הלייזר ובשאר שכבות ההגנה.
במהלך המלחמה הצלחנו למבצע מספר דגמים של מערכות לייזר רב עוצמה. מערכות אלו הביאו להישגים רבים. בנוסף, הניבו למידה מעשית מואצת. זו הצלחה מבצעית עולמית ראשונה של מערכות הלייזר בשדה הקרב. בתקופה זו צברנו ניסיון משמעותי בהפעלת מערכות לייזר, ובכוונתנו ליישם את הניסיון במערכות המבצעיות שאנחנו מפתחים בימים אלה, לצד הרחבת היקפי ההצטיידות במגוון מערכות לייזר להגנה על אזרחי מדינת ישראל וכוחות צה"ל המתמרנים.
Olivier, a very interesting, unprecedented development. I do want to stress, from what I understand, this was a prototype system that was almost hurriedly put together. It's not the full Iron Beam system, which is to be expected to be deployed later. But what does this mean? Is this the answer now to the threat of the explosive drones that, for example, Hezbollah was using that caused such havoc in the north during the past couple of years?
It is a very important scientific development for the military, but it's part of all the process of protection of the skies. It will not replace Iron Dome, it will not replace Aero, it will, or David
Sling,
it will be added to all this process of protecting the skies of Israel against all types of threats. And I would just want to conclude by one word, if I may. We are the people of the light, correct? There is the Bible.
Yes.
So the light.
Every light. Yes.
So the light now is a laser.
The light is the laser. All right. Well, that is an exciting development. Colonel Olivier Rafowicz from the IDF Spokespersons Office. I want to thank you for joining us. I want to give you a chance to say a final word. We've covered a lot of subjects. If you have a final word to say at really a time of unprecedented challenges, which even just in the next couple of days and next few weeks may see some big developments.
I would say that we are now facing, beside the threats on the ground or underground, we are also facing a wave of critics against Israel and the IDF all over the world. And I believe that Hamas and their supporters are fueling this wave against Israel. We have to be very strong. We have to stand with our belief. We are fighting for our right to be a sovereign and free state in this area. And at the end of the day, the hostages will be released, Hamas will be defeated, and the area will be more than happy to see that we can be here in another world without Hamas being a threat, not only for Israel, but also for the Palestinians themselves.
Well, hopefully that will be the case. Colonel Rafowicz, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And now a final word. A controversy over Israel's famed Shin Bet internal security agency has led to tensions between the Attorney General and the Prime Minister, with many calling it a constitutional crisis and potentially one of the most damaging developments to ever impact the country's security establishment. Now, that sounds like a description of this week's headline story about Prime Minister Netanyahu's appointment of David Zinni as the new Shin Bet head in defiance of Attorney General Gali Baharav Miura. But it is also exactly the words that were once used to describe the Bus 300 affair, the biggest public scandal here in Israel when I made Aliyah back in the 1980s. Now, that controversy centered around the fate of two Palestinian terrorists who, after carrying out a deadly bus hijacking in 1984, were beaten to death by Shin Bet agents on the order of its then-head Avraham Shalom, who first claimed they were killed in a hostage rescue attempt after local press defied censorship to expose that lie. Now, Shalom tried unsuccessfully to shift the blame to IDF General and later Defense Minister Yitzhak Mordechai. When then Attorney General Yitzhak Zamir decided to investigate the affair against the wishes of the political leadership, he was forced to resign, and Shalom and other Shin Bet officials later received blanket pardons from then-President Chaim Herzog. Now, the Shin Bet suffered a major blow from the Bus 300 affair, and its failure to foresee the October 7th attack has further damaged its reputation for effectiveness. Since then, though, it has notched several major achievements in the battle against Hamas and other terror groups. But the tensions that have developed between Netanyahu and the outgoing head of the Shin Bet, Ronan Bar, over the hostage negotiations and Qatar Gate affair, and the Prime Minister's hasty appointment of Zinni in defiance of judicial order are now threatening to enmesh the Shin Bet even deeper into political divisions that are dividing the country, and to undermine the vital role the Shin Bet plays as the front line of defense against terror. This is something that Israel at this critical stage in its multi-front war simply cannot afford. All sides in this dispute must weigh the consequences of their actions and seek to find a workable compromise over the leadership of the Shin Bet and enable it to function as a critical public institution. The Bus 300 affair did leave some lasting damage on the public's faith in the integrity of the Shin Bet, though on the plus side, it also led to greater oversight of its operations, something that was necessary and overdue. But it's hard to see any good coming out of the current controversy over the agency, which needs the trust of Israelis from all sides of the political spectrum to carry out its sensitive and invaluable work. Thank you for joining us on ILTV Security Brief.